age now. I can get a USB cable, not just the Ethernet.
USB, the new age.
Can
All
you
right.
believe
Well,
it?
John gave us the thumbs up. I think we're still waiting
Cool.
for the Facebook group to go ahead. He's waiting there. I'm still looking for the check. There it is. There it is. 2 thumbs up. All right, Luke. The floor is yours. Saturday
Here we
night is
go.
here.
Saturday night is here, which means it's time for another edition of the Mile High Insiders. He is Nick Kendell. I'm Luke Patterson. Good evening, Broncos country, and welcome. Nick, here we go. More quarterback stuff. And yes, there's some more Deshaun Watson news, and we got to get to that. But the first cog really in the quarterback wheel, I think we're starting to see with the Broncos. Obviously, Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're going to talk about that. We got to get through all the news. But Saturday night, man, how are you?
Hey, doing pretty well. Getting excited for free agency to actually get here. Obviously, typically the NFL Combine would be going on right now, and I'm having a little bit of nostalgia, having covered the Broncos a few times for the NFL Combine. Actually, Broncos bringing in, or not Broncos, but Denver bringing in John Clayton. That's a guy I spoke with a few times at the NFL Combine. Always
love him.
Funny guy. That commercial he had at ESPN, we're like, Mom, the pizza rolls. Like, they're just classic. I absolutely love that one.
And they're running sound bites right now, too. I'm so jealous you got to talk to him, man, because just to meet him, dude, I'd have a fanboy moment there.
I mean, the Combine is crazy. If you ever get a chance to go watch it as a fan or cover it, if you're lucky enough. I mean,
I love
talking
it,
with Mike Kliss, talking with Adam Schefter. I mean, literally just right there. And it's like, and also, you see those TV people and, they look good, but it's crazy when you see them up close, how much makeup they actually have on. Like Brady Quinn, just clown mask going on. Yeah,
dripping in swag and dripping in paint as well. But what's up, Broncos country? I want to say what's up to everybody. Greg Smith, Jay Roper. What's going on, fellas? Appreciate you guys joining the show. I got Mohammed Badri celebrating a belated birthday. Happy birthday, Mo. Hope you had an awesome week, buddy. The male model in the house. Kenneth Booker, I see you, bud. And dude, we got a good group already. We got to get things going. Kenneth Booker already coming in with John Clayton. John Clayton comments. Maybe we can get that back up there. Playing that death metal, dude, with the ponytail, the Slayer. I think it was Slayer that he was playing. So and Mom, I'm done with my segment. And absolutely love the professor. We will be referencing him later on. I know I wrote some pieces on him this last week. Howdy, everybody. Young Hog down there. It looks like in Texas. I don't know. Lone Star State, maybe. Muhammad coming in with a $5 super right off the bat. The Smooth Killer and Braun in the house. What's going on, Mo? Appreciate you so much. William Israel with a hello from Kansas. I see you. In the shop, Willie. What's up, in the shop, Willie? I love getting to debate with my boy Willie, dude. We were debating all week. We kept it hot, friendly. It never got personal. It was just awesome, and that's what we want to encourage on this show. Nick, testify, man. You love it, dude. We love to debate. We love to talk football. And isn't that the best thing about football, sports, life in general, the ability to disagree and possibly sway someone over to your way of thinking or learn something else?
Yeah, I mean, as long as everybody's approaching it like adults, you can have a really good time talking football. So we really do appreciate that. And, it's really good when we can get out of the echo chamber and have some dissenting opinions. That's great. But we'll see what happens here. And we get to talk about some more Broncos quarterback. But obviously, the chat, you guys get to dictate the conversation once we get beyond that. And, that's what it's all about. We really do appreciate you guys in the chats and seeing names that we haven't seen for a while. Jay, I always like to shout out Hair Game. If you guys got awesome hair like Jay's curl, like locks here, flaunt them. I'm about that. I got a haircut recently, so I'm not that much flow going on right now, but it's the good stuff. So we appreciate you guys.
That's right, dude. Well, when we're sponsored by Manscaped too, we got to trim up a little bit. I feel like I even got to trim the beard up a little bit. I'm breaking the code. So before we go too much further, speaking of Manscaped, guys, Manscaped is our presenting sponsor of today's show. Listen up, guys. We know that 2020 sucked, but it's 2021, which means it's time to embrace that new year, new me mindset. And the best way to start cultivating that is with Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men around the world keep their male grooming on point. So, guys, look, if you let yourself go in 2020 while you're in quarantine, don't worry about it. It's all good. Manscaped is here for you to not only reboot, but help you stay clean and shaved in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. Manscaped's got a great line of products. Obviously, their lawnmower is their crown jewel for your jewels. But, I mean, they even got stuff as simple and not, crazy expensive as the refined cologne. My wife has been doing some laundry today, and she walked by and she's like, you smell really good. I mean, so if it's wife approved, then you got to go for it. Also, we got more snow up here in upper left USA, as we like to say here in Washington. But I booked a couple backpacking trips in the Olympic, already getting excited for that. And you best believe I'm bringing my crop mop with because I'm a sweaty guy. It happens. If there's ever an apocalypse and like water goes short, I'm tapping out. I'm done. I'm going to sweat out immediately. But the crop mop, man, cleaning that area for anybody who's done anything backcountry for a while, you want to keep that area clean. And man, the crop mop is one of the best. Anti-chafing, moisturizing, deodorizing. I mean, talk about good stuff, especially if backcountry camping with the wife as well. It's a good time.
Yeah, you know what's funny, dude, is I when I'm growing up, and this may or may not get me in trouble, but I'm just gonna say it. We used to refer to them in camping as like prison baths with just like the wet wipes and stuff like that, dude. I don't smell like a baby anymore using baby wet wipes. I feel like a grown man with these mop wipes. So I completely agree. And then the other thing, guys, with Manscaped, we're talking about the 3rd generation lawnmower 3.0. Now, this lawnmower is waterproof. It's got a skin-safe trimmer, and it will reduce nicks to your 2 best buddies, which is always important. The 3rd generation trimmer even has a light, and that light, it's going to illuminate all those awkward and really hard and sometimes not so easy to get to spots. So, guys, Manscaped, my favorite thing, they even threw in their favorite little shed travel bag. This thing is concrete for your life. You got to have it in, man. It's going to keep all your goodies stored very comfortably. And speaking of comfort, the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs are also included and are hands down the best underwear you will ever wear. So, guys, 2020 was awful. Let's make sure your boys are refreshed and ready for new beginnings in 2021. Embrace that new year, new me mindset with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your family jewels will thank you.
Again, guys, that's absolutely correct. Get 20% off and free shipping if you use the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Again, that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com if you use the code HUDDLE. Happy New Year, happy free agency, and check out Manscaped. We appreciate it. Also, shout out to I think it was Kenneth that said the crop mop works great for the soldiers in the field. I mean, it's really an underrated product. Awesome. I definitely need stuff like that. So I can get stinky pretty darn quickly. We'll leave it at that. But we got the chat going here, and Luke, you kind of brought up the topic here today in our chat to get things rolling. So I'm going to give the floor to you. What's going on?
Yeah, man. So Woody Paige, our good old who doesn't love Woody, right? Everybody got to love Woody Paige, man. He's the best, right? Woody Paige has reported in addition to other reports, but Woody had it first. So credits Woody Paige. The Broncos have reached out to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, this is a name that Broncos country should be very familiar with, considering he's played with half the NFL already, Nick. So right off the bat, maybe I don't mind seeing him in orange. But, Nick, what is your reaction to at least hearing the Broncos have reached out to Fitzpatrick? Now, nothing was done, no deals. Doesn't sound like there's momentum really going one way or the other. It's just kind of a lukewarm stance. They reached out. What are your initial reactions when you hear that George Paton picked up the phone and he's calling about Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Well, my first thing is how the Broncos are not even, or the NFL is not even in legal tampering yet. Legal tampering will open up March 15th, and that is March 15th through March 17th. Now, a lot of times there is a little bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge going on at this time of year when there is the NFL Combine, the agents, the team personnel, blah, blah, blah. Everybody transcends on Indianapolis, has a little bit too much to drink, some adult beverages, and, some stuff is spilled and people get some information, which is always,
that's why we go. That's why we go. Not only analytics, that's huge, Nick. And I'm going to interrupt you just for a second because you just talked about being at the Combine. That was an event I was hoping to go to this year. I've never gone. I missed the Shrine Game, went to the Senior Bowl. So, yes, when you go to those things, you're not only evaluating players and talent, but you said it, Nick, get a couple cold pops in these scouts and these coaches. And
sometimes a little harder than that.
Sometimes the dirt starts to flow. And I think there's something to be said for that. Another reason why the Mile High Insiders are here on Saturday night. And, dude, I completely agree with you, man. I mean, with no Combine, this is usually the time, right? Where you guys are talking a little bit. Maybe you shouldn't be talking, but guys are talking anyway. I mean, talk to that process. You know what it's like out there at the scouting combine. So if these guys can't be at the scouting combine together and teams and everything like that, I mean, how can this be working right now without the Broncos getting hurt?
I mean, it might be the kind of thing where they're talking to agents, like the Broncos have somebody they're interested in that's already been a free agent that is, there goes I guess it's just me for a second. Hello, everybody. So yeah, there goes the Broncos. Then could talk to Fitzpatrick's agent, and then they would bring in, potentially talking with him, and then the Broncos could, like, hey, we're talking about this guy who's already a free agent, not somebody who just came off an expiring contract. You add them, and then you say, you also represent Ryan Fitzpatrick. What's going on there? Is he going to be available? Is he at all interested? So then you can add somebody like Ryan Fitzpatrick where he's not totally available just yet. And then, you can kind of get around it. So it is interesting. I do believe that somebody made a good point earlier. I hope the Broncos don't get in trouble for this. It is legal tamper. It is not legal tampering yet. So that is a little bit concerning, but that also means that you could see things like typically when legal tampering opens, you hear about big blockbuster deals about, an hour into legal tampering opening up. This year, that might not be the case. That might be the thing where you see it actually legal tampering. A lot of these players are going to be approached for the first time during that legal tampering period. So it will be really interesting to see just how valid this is. I've seen some reports where this is something from farther back. It's not actually been this offseason cycle where the Broncos have approached somebody like Ryan Fitzpatrick. So it will be really interesting to see what happens. Again, somebody made a good point. You don't want the Broncos to get in trouble because they're not supposed to talk with somebody yet, just like a Ryan Fitzpatrick. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I guess my first thought is, and we'll open up to the chat here since Luke has gone AWOL for a second. Actually, let's get John Huston in the house first. Fitzpatrick is 40 years old, should get Dalton. I mean, you're kind of talking about the same kind of player there, right? Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think you will be able to get for less. And he's somebody who will come in and I believe would be more willing to take a mentorship role. That's just kind of where he is right now. But I think Dalton would be more interested in coming somewhere where he actually has more of a chance to compete. And I do think the Broncos will have a competition if they bring in an Andy Dalton. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're kind of talking about a different kind of parameter with bringing in that type of player. And there's still teams that need quarterbacks so that Andy Dalton might be more interested in first before the Broncos. Maybe somebody like the Washington football team. Not going to mess that one up. I've said the wrong name a few times there. Chicago Bears, a team that needs quarterback play right now to save Nagy's job, to save Pace's job there in Chicago, and a team like New England. So we'll see. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, if the Broncos have spoken with Ryan Fitzpatrick, though, that to me says that they are, and I think it was a report from Ian Rappaport this week. He was on the Pat McAfee show where the Broncos were interested in, keeping Drew Lock. Obviously, they still like him, and bringing in somebody to compete with, and hopefully he can become the guy. Drew Lock, that is. If you bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick, it makes more sense that they do believe in a Drew Lock still, because Ryan Fitzpatrick's really not much of a threat to Drew Lock winning that position, taking it over for a long time. It's a different conversation than bringing in even an Andy Dalton, but of course a Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota type where those guys are coming in and they're competing. And if Lock gets beat, he's beat out. And that's not really the case with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is more coming in, showing Lock what's going on. And then if Lock fails or Lock gets hurt, then you go to the veteran. Then you go to the beard that is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Great beard, even better than Luke. He's not here right now, so we can tease him about his beard. Oh, and we have John coming in the house now. Not sure what's going on with Luke, but hopefully we'll figure it out. Ernie is saying, get Dalton. So there we go. Somebody else, we got David Crespin coming in and said, need to get a top tier QB. Your lips to God's ears or Peyton's ears, I guess, for David on that one, David. But John coming in, being the reliever off the bench. So how are we doing, John? Good to see you today.
We're doing well. We have my cat trying to get on me, so it's things are going well.
We're doing it live.
This is live. This is what happens. Luke should be back in here shortly. He'll hop back on, but real quick, just wanted to come in, talk a little bit about Fitzpatrick. For me, I'm a little bit worried about him, honestly. He's not the answer for me. I feel like he's done it in the past where he kind of takes over that young quarterback's role.
Yeah.
You've seen it with, I believe, is it EJ Manuel all the way back in Buffalo? I mean, throughout his career, he makes sure he takes over that young studs, to say his position. And I'm worried that would happen with Locke. That could very easily happen, and all of a sudden the team is split. So that's a concern with me and Fitzpatrick. I'm not sure if that's a concern for you, or if you want that open competition where someone is coming to take that position and take that control of the roster.
I think I want that competition, to be completely honest. I think that there is something to be said. You don't want a I'm just going to come right out and say you don't want a Carson Wentz type where they draft a quarterback in the second round and he completely becomes a head case and falls completely apart. Is that your kitty trying to jump in there? Yes. Hello to John's cat. So that you don't want that kind of issue with the quarterback position where the guy lacks confidence and, just can't handle the adversity. Quarterback has to be able to handle adversity. So just like we are right now with Luke popping in and out of the screen down at the bottom. So that's a huge thing that you want for the quarterback position. And if Locke can't handle somebody as non-threatening as a Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in, he's not the guy. That's enough for me to be like, okay, well, there's your answer. Time to move on.
Yeah, I feel you there. And do you mind if we go to one more question on John Huston? And it's something that I've been wondering as well. Do you think Fairley's 4.24 40 is real? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. I mean, he's got speed, no doubt about it. That's a big thing. People want to put Patrick Surtain in the same tier as a oh, there we go. He's back. There we go. But people want to put Surtain back with Fairley, but I think Fairley, it's pretty obvious when you watch the tape. Fairley is a different tier athlete than Surtain. Now, Surtain's more developed than Fairley is right now, and he's also 2 years younger, so that's stuff that matters. But I mean, watch the tape. It's just a different type of athlete. The click and close. I don't think the 4.24 is real. But also want to point out Daniel Jeremiah, who's probably one of my favorite football followers, saying like in 2 to 3 years, the 40 time is going to be going the way of the dinosaurs because teams are getting GPS information from the actual football field and being able to quantify that based on the situation, closing on guys. I mean, they can find the specific clip where a guy is moving and then isolate that and say, how fast was he moving here? Or how fast is he on every single slant he runs? Like that kind of thing. Isolate that and use that data. So while the 40 is cool, it's going to go away pretty soon. Now, I think they still might run it just because the pomp and circumstance. I mean, it's so glamorized. The 10-yard split's honestly way more important than the 40. But it's going to go away the dinosaur as far as teams actually using it as an analytical tool. And some teams are already not using it. They're using those GPS trackers from the college teams give them.
And I want to thank Willie real quick because he brought this to my attention earlier in the week, so I wouldn't have known about this either. So just wanted to thank and shout out Willie G, or In the Shop with Willie. He has a new YouTube channel going up, so want to check that out if you're a gearhead, love cars, or anything like that. Give his videos and a look out. As for me, I'm going to go back into the back. We got Luke back here.
God bless you, John. God bless you, Nick. Jeez, man. Yeah, talk about timing, right? And I told you I shouldn't have said the prison bath thing because I got pulled. As soon as I said that, I got pulled.
Honestly, what threw me off even more was not you being gone. It was John's face of like panic in the background. Like, what do we do? Keep going. So we're good now.
Hopefully we're good. So much, John, appreciate you. Yeah, appreciate you so much, John. And I apologize, but guys, before we get going on too much longer, this is the Mile High Insiders, and we appreciate all of you guys joining us. If you're joining us today on Facebook, thank you so much. Be sure to become an official supporter of the Mile High Football Pod at MHI_football pod. Guys, get at Mile High Huddle on Twitter. You can go ahead and get all your best Broncos coverage at milehighhuddle.com as well. And then I think one of the biggest things, Nick, dude, we have so much content right now on the site. It's insane. I was, just
I've been busy.
Peak. Yeah, me too, man. Everybody's been busy. We've got new writers that are coming on. I'm super pumped to see that. I just absolutely love it. So, Chad, just a peek behind the scenes, Mile High Huddle crew. Chad is, pulling what hair he has out left because he's just slammed with trying to edit all of our articles that we're just submitting to him because, guys, we have got the best Broncos coverage. And, Nick, you've been throwing down some pretty good articles. I've seen some. I've been throwing down some. Chad, he's always at work. Zach, he's always at work. Our guy Kenneth Booker, Eric Trickle's a big contributor on writing as well. And dude, away we go, man. Mile High Huddle, the draft, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, before I got cut out there, you're telling me just a little bit about your initial response. What do you think about Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Broncos? Talk to me there because I did miss that just for a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll give you the abbreviated version. I think that Fitzpatrick is a guy that you bring in if you are still hedging your bets as far as Drew Lock being the starter. I just think he's probably one of the least threatening of the options as far as taking the starting position from Drew Lock. Now, obviously, Fitzpatrick has some great plays, but he's kind of a little bit of a young Drew Lock because for being a Harvard guy, man, he makes some boneheaded decisions with the football. Now, that means he has some highlight throws down the field. I mean, that one against Oakland where his head was being ripped off and he chucked it. I mean, wow, like amazing. But still at the same time, like there was a few years where Fitzpatrick led the league in interception per throw. So that's something with Drew Lock as well. You see, it's the gunslinger, but it's also not great, especially for an old football coach that probably really believes in protecting the football like Vic Fangio. So it makes sense. But I think the biggest thing is it's not super threatening to Drew Lock. It's more of a mentor kind of position for Lock, and also somebody that the Broncos can go to if Lock gets injured for a third straight season, missing time, as well as if he plays kind of like he did the beginning to the middle of the season rather than what he showed down the stretch last year.
Yeah, I think it's to be expected that the Broncos, they should call about Ryan Fitzpatrick. They should call about a lot of veterans. And I saw William had a comment about that saying, look, I think George Paige should be calling on all these vets, and he should. You should be turning over every rock to find a quarterback, and you can't just wait on Deshaun Watson. I know we're going to talk about him later because that's the elephant in the room, right? That's the belle of the ball. There's some Russell Wilson rumblings, if you will, and I know the Raiders have been at the forefront of Broncos country's mind anytime Russell Wilson is being involved there. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's an immediate quarterback that's going to make the room better. I think that he would probably give you some chances to win games. He's not going to solve all your problems. I'm lukewarm on the idea, to say the least, man. It doesn't do a lot for me. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is at a point in his career where he wants to try to start as many games as he can and then eventually fall back into that backup role. But I think it makes sense for the Broncos to reach out. I don't think a deal is going to get done. And it kind of sounds like, any momentum that could have been there just wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. There's still guys like Tyrod Taylor out there, Jacoby Brissett, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not the biggest Ryan Fitzpatrick guy as far as the actual football product. Now, there's a lot going on as far as the athleticism, or not the athleticism, the flashes, the personality. I mean, coming in, showing off the chest hair and the beard and the huge chain, dressing up like I think it was Mike Evans after that Tampa Bay game a few years ago. But, it's just kind of it's a ho-hum signing. And one that I do believe, though, is independent of what the Broncos do in the draft. Just because they bring in a Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't mean anything really to me as far as the quarterback goes in the draft. If they look at that, it's independent of Peyton's decision at 9 or potentially moving up for a quarterback.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I think I'd be willing to just roll with Drew. Now, I know I'm a Drew Lock hater. Everyone will be the first to tell me, and you are too. Just embrace it. Embrace that dark side. But, I'd rather just roll with Drew if that's the case, because we were talking about, Deshaun Watson before the show started. Yeah. And, there's all these reports, right, of when a deal could get done and all this speculation. And you said something I really, really liked. And when John was asking you about it, you said, man, I think the goalposts are going to continue to move. What do you mean by that with Deshaun Watson and this quarterback hunt that the Broncos are on? Because, Nick, I think that summarized it perfectly, because it feels like we're on a roller coaster. One day we're up, one way we're down. Vegas odds are good. And then maybe the Jets are back into it. Now the Panthers for John Clayton, it's just, what do you make of that? What do you make of the changing landscape of, moving goalposts with Deshaun Watson and this drama that's being disgruntled?
Well, anybody who's followed this cycle long enough knows that every single tidbit of information has an angle. So whoever is giving out that information has a reason for getting it out, whether it be an agent, a player, a team, etc. So that matters as well. And then also things are fluid. I mean, new information comes out. There's power play or power structures in play here. I mean, it could be Watson's camp, the Texans camp, what becomes available. So if you are holding anybody to the rumors, we'll say rumors that are happening early February, January, they're going to be different come April. I mean, that's just the nature of it. New information comes out. People change their minds. The dynamics change. The environments change. So again, it's fluid. You got to look out for that. And Robert Caslow coming in here. Should the Broncos get Trubisky?
No. Not even if there's a fire. I don't want Mitchell Trubisky here. I can't do it, Nick. I mean, I just roll Drew out there if that's the case. It's just these different tier of free agent quarterbacks that we're starting to look at. And I do want to tip my hat to you. We talked about it on the Mile High Insiders first. Nick Kendell floated the idea of first Cam Newton and then Ben Roethlisberger. So he did get to it, I think, before some of the national, the beat would, if you will, for the Broncos and looking at quarterbacks. Now, how realistic is it? We don't know, but it's worth having that conversation. So Mitchell Trubisky, for me, I'm out, dude. What say you?
I mean, if he wants to come in for a 1-year deal for 8-9 million, he was the second overall pick. Obviously, he hasn't lived up to it, and it looks worse when you compare him to a Deshaun Watson or a Patrick Mahomes, especially when the Bears moved up from 3 to 2. But Mitchell Trubisky has not been absolutely terrible. He's been probably pretty consistently a bottom 10 to 15 quarterback, but he's still pretty young. He has some tools there, and also you can't overstate familiarity. Vic Fangio's worked with him. Vic Fangio, I think the Bears in 2018 went 12-4 with Mitchell Trubisky as their starter. So if it is a short-term deal and you're just like Drew Lock and Mitch Trubisky, you kind of it's a Dark Knight Rises where you like break the pool cue over your knee and you say, whoever comes out is in my crew now. If you have to do that with the quarterback battle between Mitchell and Trubisky and Drew Lock, then that's where you are. But this is the conversations that every single quarterback we put out, half the comment section's like, no, how could you? Bah, they're terrible. Cam Newton, Fitzpatrick, Andy Dalton, like, okay, welcome to this. We're in quarterback purgatory. Maybe Drew Lock can become the guy, but until you have a guy, these are the conversations you're going to have year after year, whether it's Case Keenum signing in for a big deal, trading for Joe Flacco, or whatever, signing Jeff Driscoll to be the backup. That's where you are as long as you don't have a quarterback. And that's the conversations that, unfortunately, we're going to continue to have until you have a known quantity at quarterback that is good enough to potentially take you to the promised land. And we're not there yet. I don't care what anybody says about what Drew Lock showed down the stretch last year. It was promising. You don't know yet. You can't know yet.
We're not there yet. You know who else isn't there? The Chicago Bears. John coming in with a 199 super chats. Honestly, what will the Chicago Bears do? They have nothing, Nick. Man, okay. No. I'm gonna say this. You guys got something, right? Was Russell Wilson, did he name Chicago as one of those teams?
He did. He named weird teams, like teams that are not even that good. I think he listed like big market teams.
So if you're a Bears fan, I mean, I don't think he's ever going to come to Chicago, ever, but you have that going for you. So John, stick in there, buddy. Appreciate you joining the show. And
there's just the quarterback. It's so weird this year how many quarterbacks are going to be on the move. Now you have potentially Russell Wilson, a guy who's on the move. There's a lot of teams right now that are looking for people. So this is the one Reese is talking about, trading Darnold to the Broncos. I would be interested in bringing Darnold the same reason I'm interested in bringing in Mitchell Trubisky. The thing is, there's going to be other teams who are more desperate than the Broncos to bring in a Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is going to net what is probably an equivalent to an early second. I'm not willing to trade 40 overall for Sam Darnold, but a team like Washington football team, the New England Patriots, the Chicago Bears, these teams are desperate for quarterback. Broncos, they're looking at the market. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not a full-on believer in Drew Lock, but like, you kind of have a fallback option where like Drew Lock, we know that at least there's some upside there. If we roll with him next year with a vet, it's not the worst case. It's not the worst situation you can be in. But these other teams, starting Heineke, starting Nick Foles, I can't even Jarrett Stidham. It's bad for those teams. So those are the ones that I am looking for in the Sam Darnold market.
Sam Darnold, number 2, that is way literally too rich for me. And Rich in the house, I see you, buddy, and Mundungus. We're going to get to you in just a second, you troublemaker. I see MHRT. Those guys are doing big things. Friends of the show. Thank you guys so much for joining. But no, man, that's right. Quarterback purgatory. This is where we're at, Broncos country. And doesn't it feel familiar? Don't you hate it? It's just kind of one of those things. And, it's interesting. I wrote about John Clayton's philosophy and theory that, the Broncos actually have something working to their advantage. They have Drew Lock. Now, when the professor said that, I'm thinking, what are you talking about? That's an advantage for the Broncos. And when you think about it, Nick, it really is. He's an incumbent starting quarterback. The Broncos don't need to move him right away. Other teams like the Jets, they need to make quarterback positions like in the draft, in free agency, these decisions relatively soon, a lot sooner than the Broncos have to pull the trigger on a Deshaun Watson trade. So I thought that was interesting hearing from that. But Mundungus, I got to get to you. You're a good friend of the show, John. Thank you for pulling that up. A $4.99 super. Ryan Fitzmagic, always your wizard, Harry. And now the wizard himself, Mundungus Creevy, a good friend of the show. He's always rapping back with us on Broncos country. Let us know what you guys think. Fitzpatrick, yay or nay? I'm just kind of meh. Not really.
All of them are meh. But then I think there's some people who get very angry for reasons that I believe are outside of football. for some guys, kind of like Cam Newton. Like Cam Newton is probably one of the best bounce back candidates in football this year. People say his arm fell off. Well, people were saying the same exact thing about Brady 1 year ago. Right now, you move on from New England, which is an absolute just trash heap, Mount Trashmore of offensive weapons. I mean, Dante Scarnecchia has gone there now, so the offensive line is regressing very quickly. I mean, the Patriots' offensive weapons are horrible. I'm not pulling for Mac Jones, and if the Patriots take Mac Jones, it's going to be bad because Mac Jones is only ever going to be as good as the infrastructure around him. That's just the type of quarterback he is. He's a John Stockton of kind of guys, or Rajon Rondo, like great when you got stars around you, but just terrible. And I know a lot of people, Cam Newton, we hate him. Like, I think he's a bounce back guy, and if you wanted to buy low and think about how much better the red zone offense would be now that you have quarterback power you could run in your back pocket as well. And then maybe open up the floor for somebody like a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields to come into. It's something that Mike Renner suggested the Broncos should consider in the draft this upcoming year. But, this is where we're at. It sucks. I hate to be that guy, but like, no matter what, it's like outside of Deshaun Watson and maybe Russell Wilson, a lot of people are going to be like Drew Lock because young, want to give him a chance. And the veteran options are all lukewarm at best.
Yeah, man. Well, and you said it, there's different types they're all mess, but they're all different types of mess. So it's almost like, maybe next week we'll play a game of like, would you rather? Because I would, that's where you're really kind of splitting these bizarre hairs of which quarterback would you rather take. And we got to get to some of these supers because I appreciate you guys joining MHI on your Saturday night with Nick Kendell and Luke Patterson. All right. JB Garner 12 is coming in with a $4.99 super. Thank you very much for joining the show. We appreciate your support. A vet in the room will still benefit the Broncos if we roll with Locke. Nick, the Broncos, they need a adult in the room. Brett Rippon is certainly known for his intellect, his X's and O's. Some are already calling him a future coach, but nonetheless, that's a young quarterback room. Do you feel like the Broncos definitely need a veteran no matter which way they go? I mean, they could go out and draft a rookie quarterback, right, and shock the world. They could try to grab a Deshaun Watson, then everything changes. What do you think outside of the Deshaun Watson case of getting a veteran in for the Denver Bronco quarterback room as a whole?
Yeah, I definitely think that is a consideration. But, we'll see what happens. There's just so many options out there. People are throwing them out like crazy. If the Broncos don't bring in Deshaun Watson, it's probably going to be Locke, right? Like, it's just get ready for it. That's probably just the reality of it.
Yeah, well, and that's just it, man. And it's one of those things where, just reaching out a little bit on my own, no shocker. The Broncos are in on Russell Wilson, if available, and Deshaun Watson. They're in for the big fish. They are not in for, trying to trade for a Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think that's really something that the Broncos want to do. They're making calls about Fitzmagic. I completely get it. But here's a super I want to get to because I'm trying to rack my brain. It's a great question from John, a 199 super saying, Nick, who's Jake Plummer's modern day pro comparison? Jake the Snake, obviously doing a lot of big things for the Broncos early in his career. Came over from the Cardinals and took the Broncos all the way to the AFC Championship game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who would you compare Jake the Snake Plummer to in the 2020 NFL?
Well, I think let's set some parameters there. Somebody who had a pretty good college career in the Pac-12. Yep. Somebody who played on a bad team, athletic, and work in that bootleg offense. Is it somebody who turns the ball over? Is it Sam Darnold?
I mean, dude, no. You're Jake Plummer hater. I'm gonna start that one.
I rock a Jake Plummer jersey in downtown Denver, and people stop me like, "Is that a Plummer jersey?" Like the numbers are starting to fall off a little bit. I still would rock that thing because I loved Plummer. But I'm just looking for we got a lot of different qualifiers there. Once we tick him down a little bit, I think Sam Darnold is actually a potential to be that Jake Plummer. And when the Broncos brought in Jake Plummer, a lot of people thought, he was kind of a ho-hum kind of guy. He struggled with the Cardinals for a while and then came to Denver and they found a fit that worked. So I don't know. Who do you think? If you don't like Sam Darnold, give me a better alternative.
Oh, man. I don't want to say Russell Wilson because that's way too rich. An MVP, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But I've never seen a quarterback roll to the left like Jake Plummer could do. I still haven't seen it. I'll find you some Sam
Darnold highlights. I think he did one against the Broncos where he did a bootleg to the left and made a good throw.
Yeah, that's where all our guys, Justin Simmons, made business decisions in that game as well, but we don't want to talk about that. Don't call me a Justin Simmons hater, because I do want them to get a deal done. I think they will. They're probably going to put that franchise tag on him for a second year. Surprise. But Mohamed Badri coming in, $2 super, beast in the house. Of course, referencing our great producer, John, on the ones and twos, always taking care of us. Even when my internet crashes out, even when, things are a little spotty, he comes in and saves the day. That's why we keep him. That's why we love him. He keeps us on task and he keeps things rolling. But Broncos country, let me know. What do you guys think the Broncos should do at quarterback right now? Casey Martin coming in with Jake Plummer through 161 touchdowns and 161 interceptions in his career. Oh, here he goes. You're going to get Nick chirping me with the Sam Darnold stuff here in a second. And I just, don't do it. Don't feed into him, Casey. Do not encourage it. You guys are crazy. Jesse coming in. Hey, guys, Shaquille Griffin, a good fit for the Denver Broncos. What do you think, Nick?
I think Shaquille Griffin is a solid fit. I do wonder if he has the jets, the rocket skates that you want to be able to play that off-ball coverage in a match quarters defense. Obviously, the Seahawks drafted him for more of a cover 3 defense, where you're going to see a lot of press and guys playing in the flats, not carrying those vertical zones as much, or not nearly as much, or needed as much. But I think he's a guy that I would give a shot for. Him and Chidobe Awuzie. I always pronounce his last name incorrectly. I know he's a Boulder guy and from Colorado. I think not only played
Awuzie.
So those are guys that, and also with how this market is this year, if either of those quarterbacks are looking to make some money, I mean, I would hope that there is enough of a reputation right now with the Fangio defense that you can, hey, I want to take a 1-year deal. Maybe I should go play in Denver, where I can play, Bradley Chubb and play with Vic Fangio and with Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons behind me. But I think Shaquille Griffin is a good fit. I think he's one of the better mid-tier cornerbacks that the Broncos should look into.
Good questions, Broncos country. Keep them coming. We appreciate you guys joining us here on MHI at your favorite Saturday night podcast. You guys make it the best. We appreciate you so much. Andy coming in. Andy with the $10 super. Andy, I'm going to try your last name. Please correct me if I am wrong. Andy, I'm going to go Kowick coming in with the $10 super. Early impressions of next year's quarterback class in case Drew Lock or the veteran option just doesn't pan out. I love your guys' content. Keep up the great work, guys. Appreciate you, Andy. Thank you so much for your support. I know it means the world to us, man. Thank you for rocking with us.
And also, it looks like you are, I can't tell there, but it looks like you're in some military outfit there. So appreciate your service as well, if that's the case. Luke, I'll take this one since I already starting to work a little bit on the 2022 class.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy, dude. I'm losing sleep over this class, and you are already pouring into the next one.
Through the peripherals, like working on the North Carolina running backs. You can see Sam Howell, what's going on. Sure. Working on James Hudson at left tackle. You can see what's going on with Desmond Ridder. I watched Carson Strong earlier this year because I thought he would declare, given the lack of depth in this quarterback class. I think the biggest thing right now I can say about the 2021 versus 2022 class is the 2021 class, insanely top heavy. You got 4 guys that I think are top 10, top 15 picks in any class, the level of tools they have. And make no mistake, obviously there is a part of mental processing and skills that take you to that next level for the quarterback position. But to get a foot in the door, you have to bring something athletic to the table, some sort of tools. So that whether that be arm talent or athleticism, especially in today's game. And I'll be honest, I don't see any quarterback in next year's class that compares the combination of arm talent and athleticism that we see right now with Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Zach Wilson. That being said, the one that I think you could make an argument for is Rattler, Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. Yep. He's a guy who he just kind of plays the quarterback position like a shortstop, turning a double play. He can make some of those awkward platform throws and the ball pops out of his hand. And that's what you need more and more from the quarterback position in today's game. But that being said, there are a heaping of concerns about his personality and attitude dating back to high school. So that's going to be a concern. And you think it's, people probably already like, talking about Spencer Rattler, rolling your eyes about the character concerns. Like it's going to be worse next year. It's not going to go away. I know there's some hype for Sam Howell. I'll be honest, I don't see this top 10 any quarterback class kind of hype. I mean, people look at the stats, but it's a very like shoot and go offense, throwing a lot of 9 routes down the field. He has some athleticism, but the arm does not pop. I think he's just he's a solid quarterback prospect. We'll go first round. I'd have him over a guy like Mac Jones in this class, but it's just not an ample tools guy. I do like Carson Strong from Nevada, but he looks like a pure pocket guy. And I'll tell you, I'm out on pure pocket quarterbacks. You got to bring something athletic to the table in today's game. I like Desmond Ridder. He reminds me of Teddy Bridgewater. Like the arm is just kind of not very good, a little bit inaccurate as well. He can take a step because he can do some stuff outside the X's and O's, or beyond the X's and O's. But if I could take Carson Strong and Desmond Ridder and have them like fusion dance into one quarterback, we're talking, baby. But that's just not the case. My guy that I'm really high on myself, kind of a sleeper, and somebody that John Elway never would have drafted, but Malik Willis from Auburn. Now he's 6'1", 215 pounds guy, and he's inaccurate, but the flashes, oh baby, Lamar Jackson light. I mean, like a video game player out there. He's got great wheels. The arm pops very easily, not consistent with the process, not always consistent with the accuracy. But I always think when it comes to the quarterback position, especially evaluated in the draft, and what we've learned, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, those guys hitting the last few years, foot in the door is the tools. And I think Malik Willis has the tools. So overall, it's a deep class. But if you like one of the top 4 this year, I think you should swing because I don't think the top stacks up the same.
You got to swing if you love a quarterback. I don't care if it's in the draft, free agency, or if you have to trade for him. You move mountains. And speaking of mountains, our mountain man, Richie Rich, coming in. Appreciate you, buddy. Richard, or excuse me, Ritter's a big J.
With the Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I love it.
You got all these beards coming in. So I shaved it a little bit yesterday. I like to keep it, that 5 o'clock shadow or whatever. So we got Charlie Beagle coming in. It's more dangerous to use a first round pick that doesn't work. This may be controversial, Luke, but I'll give it over to you for a second. When you draft a quarterback, would you rather them bottom out like a Paxton Lynch in the first round, or would you rather you're kind of stuck in the Daniel Joneses of the world where you're in that purgatory? I'd rather know my quarterback sucks and isn't the guy after 2 to 3 years, especially with how their contract stacks up, rather than get like an Andy Dalton. And now you're in a conversation like, oh crap, like, do I have to pay him that second contract? And then your team completely falls off when you do that. Like, I'd rather swing for the fences. Drafting a quarterback to me, if you're drafting for the floor, it's like trying to bunt during a home run derby. You need dingers, baby. You need freaking guys who are stars. And you don't want to bunt for a hit. Drafting for the quarterback position.
I'm okay swinging for the fences for a first round quarterback if you love the guy. And, I think I'm just Zach Wilson's my guy in the quarterback for this year outside of Trevor Lawrence, of course. And Broncos country, don't freak out, but there is a bunch of rumblings and different articles out there saying some teams project Zach Wilson to be ahead of Trevor Lawrence. I don't know about that, but
easy to say for the teams that aren't going to get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Zach Wilson is certainly picking up steam, just like Trey Lance, just like some of these other quarterbacks, including Mac Jones. And I've got an article, Nick, that I know it's just going to drive you crazy about Mac Jones in the works right now. And one about Zach Wilson that should be coming out relatively soon. But before we get there, dude, you got to swing, man. You got to swing and you got to play him right away. I'm of the opinion if the Broncos draft a quarterback in the first round this year, I want to see him immediately. I don't care. Drew Lock competition. I don't care. You're a first round quarterback. You need to get out there and we need to start this evaluation process now. And if you get hurt, Drew, come on in. Things aren't working out and, you let them roll with those lumps, dude. You got to figure it out. And I see the Pat Shurmur criticism here. I get it. But guys, Shurmur's not going anywhere this next year. Now, whether or not Vic Fangio and Shurmur will be around, who knows? The NFL is just constantly changing, but I would way much rather go for a quarterback that I love. I don't care what everybody else says. I love him. I know you feel the same way. If you love a guy, go get him. And who cares what everybody else thinks? You can miss on a million quarterbacks in the first round. It just takes one. And then all is good, all is gravy, and then you start winning again, and everyone's happy.
I mean, yep. And if you have the quarterback, you have a chance to win. It's really simple. It's simple to say. It's harder to find that guy. And we got Based Case coming in here. What's the point of Fitz coming in if he'll lead us to 7 wins and take us out of getting a QB in 2022? If Locke tanks, he can be our tank commander. The thing is, I think we saw this past year where Locke got hurt, and you had injuries all around this team, and they still picking 9 overall, right? Like this next year, I think the roster is going to be improved, and I think Locke will be better than he was the middle part of this season, and it'll definitely be better than the Rippon Driscoll parade that we saw, or should I say charade that we saw earlier in the season. So I think that independent of Fitzpatrick coming in or Locke, I think you probably are in a position where if you want a quarterback in next year's class, you probably need to move up. And that's why there's no better time than now, because you're already up to 9. Right. Unless you're thinking about like, okay, we want to give Locke another year, which is valid. I totally get it. You like to pin that we're the Locke haters. I'm a Drew doubter. It's right. I know it's not as catchy, but it's definitely the easier, safer middle ground.
No, it's more accurate, man. No, and obviously it's tongue in cheek with me, man. Yeah. And I'm not going to say the same thing I do every week about Drew. Y'all know I loved him coming out, but it is what it is. You say one bad thing about Drew, and here's what I got to say real quick. Just can I have a Karen moment for just a second?
Of course.
Get off my mom. Okay, I'm going to get a little grouchy here and a little bitter, so bear with me for just a second. All right, Broncos country. There are so many great Broncos insiders in this city. I do not need to constantly hear, I only listen to this guy or this young lady or this guy or this guy. Dude, listen to who y'all want to listen to. But I challenge you, think what the Broncos are going to do. Don't think of what you would do. Don't think of what I would do. That's the hardest part of this, Nick. It's removing what I like and what I want them to do. And they're not going to go get Zach Wilson. The Broncos are not going to go get Zach Wilson. Would I love them to? Yeah. But I don't think it's going to happen. So try to remove just a little bit of emotion from it. Look at it as a whole. I mean, I see everybody having fun with those mock drafts. How cool is that, right? We're seeing the mock draft floating all over the place. But no, man, make an opinion. Have fun with it. Debate. But don't let one source be the source that's going to make or break it for you. Because we were just talking last week about two, Hall of Fame writers, really. I mean, like we were talking about John McClain, right, of Houston, saying he guarantees that the Broncos are never going to land Deshaun Watson. And then John Clayton's coming out here saying, well, it's Denver and Carolina. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, two Hall of Fame writers against each other. No, that's not it. It's different sources. It's different narratives, something that you like to point out. So now that I got my little rants and my little princess moment out, I'll turn it over to you, Nick, man. I just think it's so important to look at it. What are the Broncos going to do? Not necessarily what we would do, but what will Denver do?
And I just want to add a little addendum to you there. When you hear conflicting rumors out there, conflicting information, just ask who has the most to gain from this information being out there, because there's always a twist.
For sure.
And that's, guys are, that's the game. That's the game. And it just is what it is. So we got Casey Martin coming in today. Casey, that wasn't the guy who was just cut by the tag. That was Nick Martin. So I think
Casey, yeah, dude. I don't know if Nick's your brother, man, but if John was asking, hey, what do you guys think about him to the Broncos? So Casey, if you happen to be brothers, hook it up, man. Well, could always use some more linemen.
Maybe not interior offensive lineman though. I wish he had that length to play tackle. But Casey coming in. What are your thoughts on Isaiah? Speaking of tackle, man, transition after transition here. What are your thoughts on Isaiah Wilson's situation going on in the Titans? He seems like somebody who needs to figure out what is going on in his life first, because I don't know if he has the direction right now to put in the work and time commitment that is to be a professional football player. So, maybe some people are saying maybe it's a buy low candidate. He was a first round pick for a reason. I mean, that size tackle is one of those positions where like people get upset about like talking about arm length and like height and stuff, but like there's a reason that NFL teams are like so meticulous about that. There's the have or have nots when it comes to those frames for that. And so Wilson gets up there, but he's got to figure out his own stuff first. I wouldn't want to touch him right now. We don't need to bring another question mark at right tackle and pay them and give up draft capital. At that point, you just might as well sign somebody, bring back Wilkinson as, ho-hum as that is, or draft a tackle if you want.
I think Wilkinson, the market's going to be really competitive for him, man. I start to think of Billy Turner and what happened with Billy Turner and, these teams that reach, and the Broncos were one of those teams that reached for Jawan James. You see where they're at now. But Nick, for the love of God, can we stop with the Broncos and the cryptic tweets? It turned out, obviously we're referencing Jawan James, and it was funny because I don't even remember what it was, but people were like trying to guess, and you try to speculate, okay, are you going to be on the team? Did something happen that we don't know about? And then it turned out to be a bunch of Drake lyrics. So I feel like maybe he trolled us all there and he got us all good, but the cryptic tweets, man, they're undefeated for the Denver Broncos, regardless of their poor record.
Yeah. I mean, those guys have a platform. You have Patrick Smythe there trying to teach them the public social media 101, but those guys, they should have it. I think also I do kind of like it though, that you have this platform now. I know that Justin Simmons has been on Twitch with guys. I know that I think Garrett Bowles and Calvin Anderson are doing like a hot tub live stream, which, if you're into the big boys, then by all means, go for it.
Take it in, dude. That's funny. Well, and then John's been rapping with Graham Glasgow. I'll go ahead and embarrass him right now. Graham Glasgow and John been rapping on Twitch, dude, about football. So not just video games and stuff like that. But hey, guys, breaking news: Nick's a cutie, and we got to give him a shout out. Blondie Locks coming in. Nick, you're handsome. That's all.
I'm gonna blush, guys. I blush way too easily. You can embarrass me.
We got it, dude. He's a good-looking cat. He's my partner, your favorite. Get at him at Nick Kendell MHH for any draft question, Broncos question, hiking question. DM him, man. He will get back with you. I will get back with you. And here comes Mundungus, dude, because he'll slide in your DMs, man. And this guy, you got to watch him because sometimes he'll roast you, other times he'll josh you, and then other times, dude, it's just great, amazing content. So appreciate Mundungus, one of our great friends, $4.99 super. Lock succeeding under Shermer is as probable as James growing hair. Driscoll as the backup quarterback is as awesome as Wilkinson starting at right tackle. Mundungus absolutely starting to not necessarily slay the Broncos, but I think spit a little bit of truth here. Man, what do you think about that, dude? I mean, Locke succeeding under Shermer's offense. That's something that we've talked about, and Mundungus and I have talked about, and I'm sure you and him have talked about as well. Fit. It's all about fit in the NFL. We've called Drew Lock salvageable multiple times. Pat Shurmur, what quarterback does fit with Pat Shurmur, Nick? Name me a quarterback that fits with him, because I don't know anymore at this point. We know that he's going to be the offensive coordinator. We know that he's just kind of stuck and ho-hum in his ways with Drew Lock. Who fits for Pat Shurmur, if we're being honest? I mean, besides Daniel Jones, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Who has he had that he's had success with? I mean, obviously, there's Teddy Bridgewater coming in there. The Vikings, they traded for Sam Bradford. Case Keenum had success. He had some success with Nick Foles also. So, it hasn't really been these toolsy guys. But then you go back, and he was on that same staff as Andy Reid with Donovan McNabb. So, it's a question of, is that dealing with the guys he has? Is he a chef with mediocre ingredients? Or is he somebody who's like, I really just want to cook beef chuck. I don't really need the top cut of steak. That's not my style. So it is an interesting question. I think with Shurmur, it bothers me is that he likes to do the shotgun. He likes a lot of 11 personnel. He likes to leave those tackles on an island, and that's all fine and dandy. Locke is not super comfortable, even though he played in the air raid kind of spread system at Mizzou. It's obvious he's not comfortable with full field reads right now and with multiple progressions. I mean, he struggled with that when they went to, again, more of the dumbed down offense, whatever you want to call it. There was less reads, a lot more low high kind of stuff going on, and half field reads, and also way less empties, more under center, more two tight ends. Locke played a little better in the stretch, partially because they were playing worse defenses, but that's just, you play who's in front of you. So it will be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see, but I think Shurmur gets some rightful heat, but also Locke's not doing a lot of basic stuff that most quarterbacks can do. And that, circle of bad football play goes round and round.
Here's where I'll have Drew Lock's back. Drew Lock never blames anybody else for losing the football games. He goes up there, and sometimes he's a little bit whiny for my taste and stuff like that. But I think Drew cares. I think Drew's a professional. Pat Shurmur, on the other hand, I can point out multiple times that Pat Shurmur has thrown Drew under the bus, just like Vic Fangio has thrown his coaches under the bus. It's kind of weird when that happens, and coaches really shouldn't be doing that. But it's weird when it happens, and I can't help but notice it. And it just makes you speculate on the tone of the room. But speaking of the tone of the room, always jovial with our boy, Mr. Boggins, a $3.99 super, just sitting at a bar, drinking a nice IPA, listening to MHI. Appreciate you, Boggs, so much. Boggs, a part of that MHRT group. Be sure to go check them out on Twitter. Those cats are doing big things. A good friend of the show. And do you like IPAs, Nick? I'm a big IPA guy.
I love IPAs. In the wintertime, I'm more about that stout season, bourbon barrel stouts. The higher the ABV, the better. But there's a good brewery out here. I know that Boggs is out here in the Pacific Northwest. So once things are kind of in a more normal state, we'll definitely get an IPA. I'll take you out to Great Notion or Stoop Brewing or something out here in Seattle. There's a lot of good.
We all know Colorado is where the IPA and the breweries are all at. You guys behind the trend over there, so I'm gonna take a shot there. But Glenn Hauser, always in the house, dude. He's saying, I'm drinking at home, watching some MHI. Appreciate you so much. Another one of those MHRT cats are everywhere, man. You can't get rid of them. Their energy is infectious. They're so polite and welcoming and warm in their own community. So be sure to go check them out. I see Charlie Beagle in here, Dave Glassman, Scratchnoff, CC coming in here with a bold take. I'd like to get out there. Barkley would rupture his Achilles getting on a flight to Denver. Hard no, especially on 2 second-rounders. Nick, here's the thing for me with the second round pick, man. I struggle giving away that second-round pick. You know why? Because I really like Browning, man. I think you could get your linebacker there. Man, a second-round pick for Sam Darnold. I can't get over it, dude. There's no way.
Other teams are going to want him more. The Broncos, you're coming back here. Like, we already have Sam Darnold on this roster in Drew Lock. I mean, they're pretty similar players right now. Sam Darnold is younger. He's been in a worse situation. I think there's probably a higher floor there with Sam Darnold. But that's the biggest thing for me is, like, other teams are going to be more desperate. You know, Taylor Heineke, whatever the heck his name is. I know he flashed there. I mean, Alex Smith, the ghost of Alex Smith out there, you know, hats off to him for coming back this year, but those teams are way more desperate than the Broncos are. And that's something that's very good for the Broncos long-term. It means they're not going to make a move out of desperation, you know, going out and paying Case Keenum what they did. That's the type of move in desperation where you're like, now we have, like, what is it? 10 million dead cap for him. We have trading him off. That's where you don't want to be. So the Broncos, at least they have a floor they can come back to and get there. So Jay, thank you very much. Also, we wanted to give you a shout out from John. Also, thank you for that email. We really do appreciate you being friendly and, you know, always been a great supporter of the show. We really do appreciate that. Harry Gang strong.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, Jay's a gentleman, man. Jay's always coming in here, and that's another good thing about Jay. We're able to disagree and still have a great time. And that's what this is all about. That's what MHI is all about. We love to disagree. We love to. Is that a dude? You got smoke alarms going off, Nick?
I just had a smoke alarm beep. I guess I gotta go change the batteries.
All right, so here we go. So in MHI, this episode I've dropped. We've got smoke alarms going off. It's crazy on Saturday nights. This is the Mile High Insiders and one of our dear friends, Mr. Tyler Randall, coming in with a very generous $20 donation. Tyler. Appreciate you so much, Tyler. Hope you're doing well, brother. Did you all see that Daniel Jeremiah now has OU defensive lineman Ronnie Perkins going in the first round to the Jets at 28? I definitely think the Broncos should look his way. Obviously not at 9. It's a little rich, but maybe trade back. What do you think? Denver Broncos for life. Tyler Randall. I love it. Tyler Randall's all over it, dude. He's all over it, just like the rest of our MHH superstars. What do you think about some of these risers that are starting to come in? Daniel Jeremiah, one of your favorites, one of my favorites.
Good guy.
What do you make, man?
Daniel Jeremiah, if you listen to him talk about it, he would say that he's talked to his people in the league that most of them have Ronnie Perkins as kind of a late 2 to mid 3rd, and he's just going to be higher on him. I mean, sometimes there are those guys. I thought I was going to be one of those guys with Greg Newsome, and now he's the cornerback 4 for a lot of people, maybe even cornerback 3, threatening a guy like JC Horn. So, you know, that's just is what it is. I think that Perkins is actually a really good fit for the scheme. He was suspended to start this year, so there is some stuff that we haven't made privy, or hasn't been made privy to me as far as what exactly the suspension was. So watch out for that. But I really like Ronnie Perkins. I think he's really good. We actually got into it, some of the specifics of the defense on the Building the Broncos this week, where he talked about how Fangio, some people want hybrids like that linebacker safety hybrid, but Fangio hasn't historically used that guy. Then we're talking about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, but he likes hybrids at safety that can be a nickel and a deep safety. And he also likes hybrids from the edge that can be a speed pass rusher and also drop in-play coverage. And Ronnie Perkins is one of the guys that can do that. I think he'd be a really good fit if the Broncos were moving on from Von Miller to push somebody like Malik Reed there and have him be more that finesse coverage edge where you have Bradley Chubb obviously being the power edge. So, Luke, you there? Uh-oh. So I guess Luke is not sure what's going on right now. I'm gonna take
It's tough. You got to make these decisions now, Broncos country, and these are things that we all need to figure out moving forward in the future. And we're starting to wrap things up, Nick. If you want to go ahead and get to some of these final supers here as we wrap up MHI, Mundungus Creevy coming in with a $4.99 super. If we can't get Watson, sign Alex Smith for 1 to 2 years and let Locke learn. Sign Kenyon Drake. Sign Matt Milano and draft Farley. Mundungus has the plan, Nick. What do you think, man?
I think Alex Smith is still on the Washington football team's salary cap. So we will see what happens there. And, then 16 million to trade for him. I don't know what's going on with that. So I wouldn't probably do that. Matt Milano, if his market is not very high, then I'd be interested in adding to him. But we'll see what happens. I think it was Lindsey Jones, who covers the Broncos and the NFL in general. She said today that the off-ball linebacker position is becoming more and more devalued, and that market might be a bit stinted this offseason because of that. I mean, linebackers, the running back of the defense, folks. I know everybody's coming off that Super Bowl thinking you got to get that linebacker, but they're just not valued like cornerbacks, defensive linemen, edge rushers. So is what it is. And then signing Kenyon Drake. I mean, the Broncos, if they let go of Lindsey, maybe you could see that happen. But putting that much resources at the running back position cap-wise in a year where the cap is going down, I mean, that seems like a very short-sighted move in my opinion. You can probably, I mean, maybe you can get Duke Johnson for $3 million compared to Kenyon Drake, who wants more. I mean, you got to play that market game. So Glenn Hauser also coming in here with a super. Love your insights. You guys make a great team. Hey, thank you very much for that, Glenn. That really means a lot. We really do appreciate the shout out. If you guys also have shout outs, make sure you go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and review. We do appreciate that as well.
Thank you, Glenn.
But I'm going to take us on out of here. I know that we've had a little bit of technical issues today, but you know what? Doing it live, that's always what makes these live streams fun. Sometimes you got to be able to think on your feet. Yeah, exactly. So guys, follow us today at MHI. That's MHI_football pod. You can find Luke on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP. You can find myself at Nick Kendell MHH, and you can follow John. Oh, man, he's just disappeared at John K MHH. So hey guys, that's a CF going on right now, just like in Dove Valley. Make sure you go on over to milehighhuddle.com for all of our written and MHH community content. And biggest thing you guys can do to support us, YouTube, like, subscribe, and share. That would be fantastic. We would really appreciate that. Also, if you're on Facebook, click those thumbs up. Doing so can help us continue to bring you these Denver Bronco deep dives. Hopefully at some point we can get some crossover episodes as well. It'd be fun to get some flipping here. I know that a lot of people, I'm getting DM pretty often now saying, hey, Nick, you need to debate Zach, because I guess that I really am trying to walk the line of being a moderate here when it comes to the quarterback position for Broncos. And some people are saying that I would be a hater in Luke's eyes. So we need to maybe have that debate at some point. That would be fun. So we'll see. I mean, I'm all for it. Maybe we can all grow from that. That's what it's all about. But anything you want to touch on before we get on out of here?
No, man, great show, Broncos country. Yeah, we're always trying to get through some of these hurdles, with technical difficulties. I appreciate you guys rolling through us. Gonna scream at my computer here in a minute, Nick, and start to address all these technical issues. So we have a better show next weekend because y'all are rocking.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. We really do appreciate you. Stay positive, test negative, and we will see you all next week. Have a great rest of your Saturday.